Thank you. Well, welcome everyone. This is the Service Delivery Committee meeting for the 19th of September. And we've just had a wonderful welcome for our new Te Kanohi rep, Hinirangi Kara. So again, I'd just like to repeat, warm welcome to you. Wonderful that you've joined our committee, and we really look forward to your positive contributions. Thank you. And today is Mental Health Awareness. Oh, it's the week, Mental Health Awareness Week. And I've been generously granted these stickers, okay, with little slogans on them that will really speak to your mental health state. Okay, so I'm going to be distributing those, in our breaks. All right, just to reinforce that mental health is a really important issue, and all of us, have to take responsibility, not only, to look after ourselves, but to look after each other as well. So with that, we'll get into our agenda, and the first item is apologies. And Claire, I think we have some apologies. So Councillor Gower, for personal reasons, he's on school trip or something. Okay, thank you, Andrew, and a seconder. Thank you, Mike. All in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Any disclosures of members' interests? Wonderful. And any late items? Any late items? No. Cool. So then we'd like to confirm the order of the meeting. So would someone, thank you, Bruce, and seconded by Lou. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Thank you. And now the confirmation of the open minutes, which, that's on page 8. So if people were happy with those. So could I have a mover and a seconder for those? Thank you, Roger, and a seconder. Thank you, Phil. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. And then another set of open minutes. This is on page 17 of our agenda. So these are for the minutes of the 29th of August. Okay, and could we have a mover for those? And so I've got Susan and Lou. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Thank you. All right. And our first item of business is the Water Services Activity Report, which is on page 22 of our agenda. I'd like to welcome Martin Mould to the table. Welcome, Martin. Great to have you here today. And I'll leave you to speak to your report.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. So take the report as read, other than a few things of particular note and a few questions asked previously that thankfully I've been given the time to be able to get an answer to. So of particular note, the Cambridge Wastewater Treatment Plant discharge resource consent is expected to be granted in September. I was hoping it was going to be before today, so I told you, but no, still waiting. Te Mata ROI has released the first iteration of the network environmental performance measures for 22-23, with responses due back to them by the 30th of September. A review of the current water alert levels has commenced with stakeholder workshops to review our current framework and best practice, both in New Zealand and internationally. So I expect they'll come back to you with a workshop, the Smart Water, to show you how they're progressing with that and to get your feedback as well. The incursion and subsequent monitoring of the freshwater gold clam on the Waikato River has so far not realised any issues for the water services assets or water treatment processes. Houchins Ponds, when the dam overtopped in late June, we undertook immediate works. Pond B has now been completely remediated, and we have added a culvert to reinstate the farm track access near where the dam overtopped and regrassed the basin, which was previously the pond area. We are also working constructively with a new landowner to reduce the level of water in Pond A, effectively turn it into a farm pond. Discussions are also underway with Hamilton City Council about a longer term solution that will allow Waipa District Council to exit management oversight of this dam. And then the questions to be answered. The first question was on section 3.1, there's an independent assessment of water measures required for audit. What is the cost of this, and did we previously fund this work? So the answer to that is the cost is $3,500 per annum. The work was not required before, as the Ministry of Health Drinking Water Assessor used to undertake that function. The second question was keen to hear an update on Kiki abatement notice. So the abatement notice was issued a fair while ago, and that was in response to contamination from the Speedway. Since then, the Speedway have done an awful lot of work and completed a stormwater catchment and runoff, and they're no longer contributing to the contamination in the stream at all. So that's all fixed. However, there is still a source of contamination that goes into the stream from another one of our leaseholders, which we haven't made much progress on yet. So that's from the the horse arena, the horse track, where it's a grey metalled horse track, and the under drains from that are connected to the stormwater system. So when it rains heavily, a milky sort of colour goes into the stream. So the regional council won't remove the abatement notice until we've removed that source. So, but they're not taking any action either.
Yeah, but just on that, like, what would be the intervention that you could sort of put there to avoid the contamination?
So that
how would it be reduced?
It'd have to be a sort of detention pond or something installed that captured that runoff, let it settle before it discharged into the stream.
Yeah.
Not an inexpensive solution.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Good to get that information.
Next question was drinking water complaints, the number of connections. So on in section 3.7, there's a table, two tables that show the number of connections for drinking water complaints and wastewater complaints, and the numbers aren't correct. So the drinking water number is pretty close to the number we've got, so that's fairly accurate. But we've got on this report 19,000 wastewater connections, which is incorrect. We've got 12,000 wastewater connections or thereabouts approximately, or sorry, 13,919. What we think, so this report comes from Power BI, pulls the data. We think it's looking at the number of pans, not the number of connections, because we rate per pans. If you're over 2 pans, you get rated more. We think it's pulling, because it comes from the rates database.
Yeah.
So we think it's pulling the number of pans. So we'll continue to look into that and change that if we can. Yeah.
Thanks.
The next question was the drinking water compliance table on page 8. Yes, that contained an error where it showed Ahapa as the source of non-compliance when it was Parongia. So thanks for that.
Yeah. Cool. Right.
In the appendix on the performance measures we need to put, there is acronyms CAL and UL to do with water losses. So these stand for, CAL is current annual real losses, and URL or UARL is unavoidable annual real losses. I'm still trying to work out the better definition of what that means for unavoidable annual real losses.
Yeah, it's hard to know the difference, but
Yes.
what would differentiate?
So we've gone back to
Yeah.
trying to seek a definition of those. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
And number 6 in section 3.11, rural flood hazard. And noting that Key does have a high water loss. It is above 20%.
Yeah.
And so for our schemes, Cambridge and Carapiro, our target is 12%. They're currently 5%. Tiamutu and Parongia, so this is from year 21-22 results. The target is 12% up for level of service, and we're at 9%. Key, the target is 20%, because we knew we had a lot of issues there, and the actual is 23%. And Ahapa and Pukurimu, the target is 20%, and we're currently at 10%. So, but those numbers are averages, and we do know for certain areas within those water supply zones it is worse.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And it's also compounded by, or not helped, which we need to remove, is that the supply for Fonterra takes a lot of water, and so sometimes that screws the, they've got one direct pipe to them, so there's no losses for them, but they do reduce that percentage or impact that percentage. So we might need removing Fonterra supply from those percentages for when we report to Matawarawai at the end of the month, to make it more accurate reporting. which will probably increase those numbers.
Oh, so by taking out the Fonterra consumption, it actually
That
affects the
percentage will-
percentages.
Will go up, yeah.
Yeah. But it looks like it is only kihi that's the main concern, but you see there's spots.
Yes,
Little,
yeah.
yeah, okay. Thank you. I think I've got Andrew and then Roger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Those losses seem reasonably high to me. Is that mainly leaks or?
Yep, so from the National Performance Review, when we used to do that, New Zealand did that. So the average in New Zealand is 16% losses. So we're quite well. Yeah, that's from leaks and from people. I think unaccountable might be from people taking water, stealing water, which is very, very minimal. But yeah, generally losses in leak.
Roger.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks, Martin. Interesting. The Taumata Arawai, the voluntary monitoring that, do I take it that we're currently completing all the voluntary data collection and submission to Taumata Arawai now?
Yes, that's correct. So
Yeah.
we have to do the water levels. We're also supplying the wastewater and stormwater.
So we're doing all of the monitoring now. Is that committing us to any additional resource that we hadn't anticipated?
It's a bit more work, but we used to do that for the Water New Zealand reporting. We used to report on all 3 waters. So we were used to doing that, and we've got all the data there. So it's not a huge burden to continue to provide that, and it puts us in good stead for when we have to.
Yeah,
we've had a year or 2 of practice.
Yeah, good. But we were doing most of that reporting anyway under the old regime.
Correct.
So that's interesting. Good. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Martin. Any other questions? All right. So just getting back to the smart water, I suppose water restrictions review, like, have you any idea when we might be having that, given that, you know, we're heading into summer soon? Yeah, hopefully.
Yes, so hopefully October, November, and they'll come and do a workshop for councillors. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, so with that, we have a recommendation to receive Martin's report. Thank you, Roger. You're going to move, and a seconder. Thank you, Lou. All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you. Great. And now we have a request for a new road name, and we have James here. Welcome, James. And Michael. Great. Okay, so this is on page 38 of our agenda. So yeah, over to you, gentlemen. Yeah, happy for you to speak to your report.
Morning, Madam Chair. Yeah, we have a road name report to present. There's only one name. Does anyone have any questions as I take it as read?
Susan?
Yeah, thank you for your report, gentlemen. It's just a little bit odd, but anyway, my question, I guess, relates to the Mana Whenua grouping approached in terms of approval for the name. And help me out here, colleagues. My geography suggests, and my understanding of iwi grouping suggests this should have been Ngāti Apakura. So I'm kind of curious to understand why was Ngāti Hawa and Ngāti Korakikahukura. And I'm quite happy to be corrected in my understanding. It's just a genuine question to understand why. I would hate to think that there had been consultation with the wrong group. That's all. So maybe my colleagues can help me out, or yourselves. Accepting we're doing the right thing. Accepting totally that we're doing the right thing.
No,
I just want to make sure we don't do the wrong right thing.
Yeah. So we do, or the road names are proposed by the developer, and we leave the developer to liaise with the with the iwi. Obviously, you drawn it to our attention. They may have consulted with the wrong iwi. Yeah.
Look, it was an obvious one to me as I was reading this as well, only because obviously I live reasonably locally. The Ohopo School is just up the road, and we've always understood that it is Ngāti Apakura. That is the local, yeah. So I guess I just, yeah, we both kind of thought, oh, this doesn't look quite right. So if there's some clarification perhaps coming forward, that would be good. Yes, Lou.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not questioning the name so much, but I do notice that this is on private land, all right, and it's a developer that is doing this. This is only at access to a quarry, as I understand it. In naming it, is he intending to actually develop that area at some stage? I'm asking a question here that I just wonder whether there's something more to this than meets the eye, that maybe they were trying to set something up for a development at a later area.
So the land in the ownership is not designated, or it's not identified in the growth as a growth cell. There was a discussion internally as to whether we gave this this length of road a road name. It's become Vested Road as a technicality because it's actually across Crown Land, which is part of the Southern Links designation, and so therefore, so that it was retained in council ownership. It's been formed as a public Vested Road. So it's the option was to not give it a road name, but to give it a street address. But speaking to the roadie manager, we decided that because it was a publicly vested road, and in keeping with how we normally deal with a publicly vested road, we would give it a road name.
I'm just wondering whether or not Dale or Nirangi, are you able to give us any guidance, or should we just ask Mike and James to check? It's up to you, Dale.
I think Hinirangi's just going to have a look from her end to see, from which we are very lucky, as we have the chair of the Ngāti Koroki Kahingura in the whare. So yeah, I think what we might do is just give Hinirangi a couple of minutes to have a look, and then I think it's time for you to have korero.
Yeah, kia ora. Yeah, and thanks for buying me a little more extra time, but it was to no avail actually. I can't find the email thread, but my understanding is that Beth has been involved in this. I distinctly remember receiving an email about this, and so the names have been supported by Ngāti Koroki Kahukura, and Lisa has also provided some feedback as well from Ngāti Haua. So both iwi have I've heard from both iwi, obviously mine. And so there is some support for the name. As to the question around why, well, it's simple. Our people are involved in the development, and our people also have ahika status out along Ohopo, and in particular heading into Hamilton as well. So I'm happy and support the name, both from my iwi and from Rahui, who has sanctioned the name as well, Rahui Papa, and also on the basis that Lisa has provided some verbal support as well. Kia ora tātou.
Oh, kia ora. That's great. Oh, do you want to say something?
Yeah, supplementary to that, I guess I'm just mindful that we're, these are all a bit squealy at the moment. Mindful that we're not treading on the toes of Apakura though. I don't want to do the wrong thing here, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm just wanting to make sure we're following the right process or protocol in terms of ensuring that the mana whenua of the area are appropriately consulted, accepting it's the developer's responsibility and not ours, but that nuance is often lost in these conversations, and we're often the ones left in the firing line if something goes wrong. That's all. And appreciating it's a publicly vested road and all the good reasons. I just don't want to make sure that we're doing the right thing. That's all.
Yeah, kia ora tātou. Sorry if I didn't make myself clear. Mana whenua have given their support. So I'm saying Ngāti Koroki Kahukura has mana whenua status out there. And on that basis, we've given support. There's absolutely no, I'm not saying we're the only ones that need to be consulted and give approval here, but I'm saying that we have. Kia ora tātou.
Really great. So I'm just would appreciate some guidance, Dawn, whether or not you think it would be fine for us to approve the recommendation as it stands, or if we should amend the resolution to sort of subject to just checking mana whenua status or something like that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would suggest that it's probably best for us to check in with Ngāti Apakura, given their the situation. So whether we leave this report on the table for now, unless and I guess I invite Mike and James to let us know if there's any urgency with respect to making this decision. But I think ideally, if we have time, it would be nice to make sure that Ngāti Apakura equally have an opportunity to provide comment.
The quarry access is being constructed at the moment, but there's no urgency. It could be delayed until the following one, until the next service delivery committee meeting. So yeah.
Thank you. And then Dale.
Tēnā kōrua. That'll be great, because I think even more, which is awesome, is the other Te Kanohi rep on the other committee is the chair of that runanga. So yeah, if you could include with the developer, Bill Harris, and that will help with the process. Tēnā tātou.
Okay, thank you. So we won't action any of the recommendations. We'll just move on to the next item. Oh, okay. The recommendation would be that we leave the report on the table. Yeah. So could we have a mover and a second? Thank you, Susan, and Lou's going to second. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Thank you for helping me navigate that one, and I appreciate your input too, James and Michael. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So now we're moving to our next item, which is the draft Leamington Domain Master Plan. That's on page 42 of our agenda, and now we have Bonnie, Lewis and Aiden's with her. Welcome, you guys. Nice to see you here. Looks like you've been doing some hard work. Yes, so I'll leave it to you, to take us through your presentation. Thank you.
Hello, thank you. Kia ora koutou. We also have Exist Limited, Nikki Malone and Liz Oldfield of Field and Flora on the screen. We also have apologies from Beth Tauroa of Ngāti Koroki Kahukura, who's also been working with us on this project. So we are here today to seek endorsement for public engagement on the Leamington Domain Master Plan. So we've been working on this since about February. For context, the master plan was funded through the current LTP after a number of submissions regarding the domain. So a master plan just ensures that we have comprehensive and cohesive development and investment going into the future. So yeah, without further ado, I might pass on to Nikki.
Kia ora. Sorry, I'm just unmuting myself and not used to Zoom, so trying to sort some things out. Kia ora. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Excellent. I'm Nikki Malone. I'm a consultant with Exist, and I've got with me Liz Oldfield as well, who will be on your screen somewhere from, I'm probably going to say it wrong. No, Field and Flora, who's been doing the amazing design that you can see in front of you. And we've also worked with Beth Tauroa of Iron Sand Consulting and collaborated on developing the master plan. So as Bonnie might have mentioned, the purpose of the master plan was to provide a long-term vision for the park. It's basically just a high level view of which areas could happen where in the park. It's not a detailed design. In terms of the process of developing the master plan, you can see that on your screen in front of you, but as Bonnie said, it started in February this year with a workshop with council, and then we did extensive site analysis of the different activities that are happening in the area, and then moved into the first round of engagement, which involved surveys, a family in the day in the park, as well as attendance at the Hauora Day of Ngāti Koroki Kahukura. And then we took all this information, well, Liz took all that information and developed the amazing master plan together with Beth and the wider team from council. Now, today we're seeking endorsement for that draft master plan to go out for public consultation. And the consultation would start next week, Monday, and go through to the end of October. And then the intention is to take the feedback that's received during that engagement phase and bring back the final master plan recommended amendments to this in December this year. But it all depends a little bit on the number and the content of the submissions that are being received. In terms of submissions, obviously community boards are also invited to provide feedback. Once the master plan is adopted, anything that might be coming out of the master plan in terms of project is subject to LTP funding and LTP processes, with the exception of the playground where there's also already some funding there, and the design for this has started already. And I think that is it from me in terms of process, and I'm going to hand over to Liz, who's going to talk through the key design elements. Thank you.
Kia ora, everyone. So I'm the landscape architect that's developed the master plan, and I'd just like to, I've worked closely with Beth as the Mana Whenua representative, and also the key stakeholders, particularly the leasees, have been amazing and provided significant feedback to inform this master plan. So I'd just like to acknowledge those two people as well. So just in the essence of time, I'm sure you've all read the master plan and you've thoroughly understand it, hopefully. So I'm just going to run through the key design moves and then onto the actual the draft master plan itself. So the engagement has helped to inform the key design principles, and then also these 6 key design moves for the domain. So the first one is strengthen Huarahi, so improve all the main pedestrian and vehicle entrances, prioritise safe and attractive pedestrian and cycling links between residential areas and town centres, particularly along Wordsworth Street. Provide a visual access from the car park to the heritage listed pavilion and band rotunda through the centre of the site. Improve accessibility in the main car park. Provide a pedestrian and cycling connection between the domain and campground. And then moving on to key move 2, the central cultural area and access. So utilising the existing grass mound, which currently has a train tunnel running through it, to create a cultural themed play elements in a central cultural area for education. And then also enhancing the cultural layers and physical connections to significant sites and landmarks outside of the domain through design and the reinscription of cultural narratives and values through storytelling. And then moving on to key move 3, the Hauora Community Hub with the heart in the centre, the red diagram. Provide a central bookable multi-purpose community facility or a hut that will bring the community together and allows for a dedicated space for the netball model train and ride-on train club leasees, and a bookable space suitable for markets, whānau gatherings, clubs and fitness groups. Moving on to the next slide. Connect and enhance the taio, so improving the biodiversity by increasing native planting in the site. There's very little native planting. There's actually a few native specimen trees that were planted when the park was first developed, but other than that, there's very little native planting, particularly along the eastern edge of the domain to create an ecological corridor into the Waikato River biodiversity corridor, which you can see in the blue, sits on the northern very top corner of the site. Retaining the highly valued open space, that was one thing that came through the public engagement. Everyone loves that. Allowing for a wetland stormwater detention area to offset the increase in impermeable surfaces that will be proposed through the draft master plan, and retaining those view shafts and informal access routes into the domain from the side streets below the mature exotic and native vegetation. Key move 5, cohesive recreational layout and improved play. Reduce the unused, empty and unusable spaces in the domain, and just reducing the ad hoc nature of how things have developed over time in the domain, and trying to reorganize things so that they work together. So that includes usable spaces for varying types of community events, markets or gatherings, such as a whānau, picnic area, barbecue area, and potentially with community backing, a bookable hangi area, an event space near the band rotunda, and event or market space on the grass green that links to the multi-purpose courts and the community building. And then key move 6, really celebrating and enhancing the Mara, the gardens that have been culturally a huge part of the design of the domain in the past. So celebrating that gardening heritage by providing education around borrow pits. There was actually a borrow pit that's potentially discovered on the campground side of the domain, and just educating on those traditional tools used in Maori gardening, both past and present, providing an area for productive Maori gardening, providing an area for sensory flower gardens, and providing an area for a small pā harakiki with varieties of flax for weaving. If you could just flick on to the next slide. So the draft master plan, the multi-purpose building would be the white space near the existing netball courts, and the multi-purpose courts would be sitting next to that to the left, retaining the croquet club and croquet building, and then the yellow around the grass mound is the area for the playground and a learn to ride area between the multi-purpose courts and the proposed playground area, and then just reorganizing that existing layout of the train track to improve, I guess, the pedestrian thoroughfare through the site rather than it cutting the site in half, just prioritising pedestrian and cycling movement through the park, and creating that new loop path, and improving access points from the car park through into the site. And the wetland on the eastern side of the domain, with the steaming bay moved from near the car park to off Tennyson Street, just to reduce that sort of back of house activity. And then just really enhancing and connecting the existing uses, so the trains, and also relocating the toilet to Scott Street. It's currently in the middle of the park. Yeah, I'll hand over back to Nikki, and she can run through the next steps and lead the discussion with you.
Kia ora. We've talked through the next steps really before already. So planning, if the plan is approved today, the draft plan, it would be going out for consultation next week for about 4 weeks, and we're aiming to have the final plan back for approval in December this year. I'm happy to take any questions and open for discussion, unless there's something that Bonnie or Aidan would like to add as well.
No, just happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Nikki, and thank you, Liz. So questions, is Roger.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Not a question, just very well done. And I think it's going to be a tremendous additional value to our wonderful Leamington domain. So, yep, and I'm pleased, look forward to the community feedback when it comes back. Thanks.
Thanks, Roger. And then we've got Monty and then Liz and then Phil.
Yeah, just a question about the ride-on train. It's quite a sort of central design feature. I remember it from my childhood.
Yes.
When you're in the consultation part, the society is mentioned, but not its membership or anything. And just what level of comfort can we have that will continue? Because it's one of those things that relies, I imagine, on a few key volunteers.
Yes, certainly. So we have spoken to them on several occasions, the Ride on Train Club. So we're still keeping the track and just slightly moving it and hopefully having a little bridge over the wetland area. So in terms of that continuing, certainly we're supportive of that remaining on the site. Membership is always a tricky thing, keeping clubs going, but in terms of allowing that space on the reserve, we would be happy to support that continuing.
Thank you, Liz.
Gosh, you guys have done a great job on this. So we've had some really good feedback from the community, and that doesn't surprise me because I know it's a really much loved community space. And obviously I was at the open day some months ago, and yeah, really good engagement. So I guess all the good work has been done, and I can see, that we've got what I can see is a really good master plan. But I'm just a little bit, I've got some questions around the public consultation from here on. So I see that we're starting on Monday with a survey questionnaire and a drop-in session, and the engagement period closes on the 20th. So what does that survey questionnaire look like? How can people feed into this now? What does that drop-in session look like as well? So I just want to make sure that we've got, we're going to get as good engagement on the draft design as well. So just if you've got some more information on that.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, so the survey will kind of highlight the key changes that we're proposing and seek feedback on those, and also leave it a little bit open for if people have any additional comments. I'm happy to circulate that survey if you'd like to have a...
I'm probably not too worried about what the survey, because I know you'll cover that off well, but how do you get to fill it out? Like, where does it go? Yeah.
Yes, so we'll have it available online and also in council offices and libraries. Is that what you're asking? Yes. Yeah, so available to pick up from council offices or libraries, or fill out online. And we'll also be doing a lot of communications, newspaper, social media. And then the drop-in session will be relatively low-key, just a table at Leamington Domain, maybe a flag, and people will come and look at the map and maybe draw what they want to add or something like that. Yeah.
Thanks, Bonnie. Phil?
Thanks, Madam Chair, and thanks, guys, for your report. It's awesome. And like Councillor Stokes just said, it's an amazing public area for the community. But just with the steamroller, a few years ago, just don't move that. A few years ago, when there was discussion about bringing it up to health and safety standards and considering moving it, there was 3 of us sitting around this table that were on the Cambridge Community Board then, and the community were dead against it. So please don't even consider moving that. So,
yes.
Because you will get lots of feedback.
Yeah, thank you for that feedback. So we have a destination playground booked, and we're looking to maybe just shift it in slightly. Would that be something that would be
not removed?
Definitely not removed.
Cool. No, but well done. Thank you very much. It's great.
Thank you, Phil. Looks like you've identified a critical success factor. Yeah, in the changes. Okay, I've got a question from Mike Pettit.
Thanks to the chair. Hey, great plan. I just got one question around the decision to remove before the consultation that sort of covered area adjacent to the netball courts. Reading through it, I know it's not in a great state at the moment. That was identified, and there's couches, etc. in there. But when something gets a bit tatty, I guess it starts getting abused a little bit. So was that removal before we go to consultation based on the consultation you've already had with stakeholders?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, as you know, it is a failing asset. we did get feedback that people do love that skate rink. It's really well used, but we also got feedback that its current position is a little bit detached from the rest of the park, and it does encourage some antisocial behaviour. So we're proposing to do a similar type court or closer between the playground and the croquet, and kind of more central to the site, where it will be more visible during the day as people are at the playground or croquet or.
Sure. But so am I correct in the replacement though is not covered, is it?
Oh, the proposed court?
Yes.
So we would look to cover that.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Right, no more questions? Look, I'd just like to congratulate your team on producing this really beautiful draft plan. Yeah, I think it looks amazing. A lot of work's been put into it, and I'm really pleased to see what's. I guess it's a pretty exciting to see what might come of the consultation. So thank you again. Oh, Phil, are you wanting to
Happy
move?
to move it.
Yeah, thank you, Phil. Right, Phil would like to move the recommendation, and Mike Pettit's going to second. So all in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. I look forward to you coming back with the results of the consultation. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now our next item is the.
Kia ora.
Thank you, Liz and Nikki. Appreciated you zooming in, and thank you for your good work.
Thanks.
So our next item is the Cambridge Christmas Parade request for temporary road closure. And I have Marion Fleming and Jenny Braithwaite. Welcome to our meeting, ladies. Thank you. Over to you to speak to your item.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. So we've come to present and support those road closure reports. There's 3 of them. 2 were the Christmas parades, one for Cambridge, one for Te Awamutu. And then there's the blowout Friday. Black Friday blowout. Yes, 3 road closures.
Thank you. So any questions on the first one, which is the Cambridge Christmas Parade? No. Yes.
I was happy to move. I think, in fact, I'm happy to move all 3. But we're not cancelling Christmas, definitely not.
Okay, so I've got a mover and a seconder for, so Liz is moving and Mike is seconding for the Christmas Parade in Cambridge. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. And then the Te Awamutu Christmas Parade, Lou?
I take great pleasure in moving those.
Okay. And
having involved myself with the Black Parade, it's absolutely amazing. It's good for the community.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud to think to have.
And this is the Christmas one.
And you want to
I'll
second
second it on the basis that if I am to appear in it this year, the car doesn't break down and I don't have to push it, which is what happened last Christmas in Te Awamutu. But I will second it.
I don't know if we can add that to the resolution. I'm sorry. Yes, Susan.
I dragged Jack out because Jack was in the car with me. I said, right, buddy, we're going to push now. He couldn't believe it.
Anyway, so I've got a mover and a seconder for that second resolution. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. And then the last one is the Black Friday blowout. Andrew, I'll let you second move this one. And the second, and Lou's going to second. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Thank you, ladies. I think that's covered it. Thank you. Okay. Lovely to see you. All right. So you have the next item, which is the contract signed under delegation. And Dawn, you should speak to this. Over to you.
Lovely. Thank you, Madam Chair. So 2 contracts awarded under delegation to staff. And both are listed on page 103 of the agenda, but happy to answer any questions with respect to those works.
Thank you. No questions? They look quite straightforward, don't they? All right. So do we have a mover and a seconder for that item? Thank you, Susan, and a seconder. Thank you, Dale. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Thank you. And now we're moving into public excluded. So I've got a resolution on page 104 to exclude the public. A mover and a seconder. So Susan's going to move and a seconder, please. Mike, thank you. All in favour.